Hey there, how are you doing? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about an activity that we as professionals spend the maximum amount of time. Now, when I say we as professional, I'm talking about any professional who is leading a team of people. I'm talking about all the entrepreneurs who are managing small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also talking about entrepreneurs who run family businesses. Now, anybody who has a team does do a team meeting, does conduct a team meeting, and there is value in doing team meetings. Now, team meetings help you build trust within your team because you are willing to come eye to eye and talk about things. Team meetings are also important because it gets the team together on a certain topic and be able to share views and then get a calibrated outlook out of that. So there are lots of benefits of actually doing a team meeting. Having said this, I also see this as an activity wherein we waste a lot of time because we simply don't end up doing it in the most effective manner. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 points that you can implement and use to ace the way you go about conducting your meetings. So without any further ado, let's jump into point number one. Point number one is called objective. Now look, a lot of times I have been a party to meetings where the objective wasn't clear and the meeting, I thought at the end of it, was not even required. So here are the three reasons why you may want to have a meeting. The first one is information, and specifically critical information that may kind of evoke emotions that you have to manage, critical information which is sensitive for the people that you are conveying to because it impacts their life really badly or in a very great way. You got to do those information, convey those kind of information in a meeting, a face to face, and not over an email or a chat. The second reason why you may want a meeting is if you have a problem or you are looking for a solution and you want your team to participate in figuring out and brainstorming the problem and coming to the root cause, or brainstorming what the possible scenario is and select one or two scenario solutions that you may want to take it ahead. So brainstorming is the second reason why you may want a meeting. The third reason why you may want a meeting is to review somebody's performance, because when you review a performance of a person or a department, there are numbers that you see and then you ask a question. Based on the answer that you get, you again ask a question. So there is a conversation that happens. You can't have such a conversation over an email the most effective way. So you got to have a meeting therefore. But other than these three reasons, which is critical information, brainstorming on a solution or figuring out the root cause, or performance review, everything else should be and must be done over an email or Slack or any other communication tool that you use in your organization. When you call everybody for a meeting, and if one person is engaged and talking or presenting or listening and the others are passive, they don't have any role to contribute, then you are wasting their time. And remember something, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you are responsible for the cost, and every hour that is spent unproductive is a cost that has gone down the drain. Point number two is called goal. Now you may say, Hardik, we just spoke about objective, so why do we need to now talk about goal? Well, because I have also been party to meetings where we started to brainstorm or we started with an information, but it did not conclude anywhere. We did not figure out what the root cause was, and the meeting ended. Nobody handled the emotions of the employees when they were conveyed that, hey, you know what, designations are going to be changed and salaries are going to be revised, and your salary is not going to be what it is today, or your salary is going to be increased, but we don't know what it is. Nothing was concluded. The meeting just ended abruptly. And the owners or the people who actually conducted or started this meeting thought the meeting went well, whereas the employees or the participants felt confused and they said, okay, we just got to know something is going to happen, but what, we don't know. Those kind of meetings are not great. So the goal is to first identify what will be the conclusion of the meeting. Why are you doing, what do you want the end result of that meeting to be? So it's important to identify that. The second thing that you got to have is, okay, how are you going to go about doing that meeting? So what's your agenda like? Now it's important for me to say that when you write down your agenda, make sure that you stick to the agenda and not let it go away. So you got to write your agenda in a way where everybody gets a chance to speak and it's not hijacked by one person, and that one person can also be you as a leader who has organized the meeting. So write the agenda down, and that is the goal. The goal is to go through the agenda and reach the conclusion that you have thought of. That brings us to point number three, and the point number three is called prepare. Now why I say this? Well, a lot of time when we have to convey information, like as a consultant, we call for meetings when we have to convey the organization chart. Organization chart is a mountain full of difference to the employees in the organization that we are consulting, because it sometimes changes the reporting structure. So I may have boss A, and because the org chart is redesigned and conveyed now, I may have boss B. So my bosses change, my compensations change, my growth path is now conveyed to me, which is what is the next thing that I can look for. My incentives are going to be conveyed to me. So it's a lot of critical information to employees. Now, when we have to convey information like that, assuming it's an information meeting, it's extremely important to prepare. How do you prepare? Well, you go about networking your idea, which means you go to people who you think are going to be either troublemakers or people who are going to be assertive in their opinion, if not aggressive. You got to kind of go and speak to them much before the meeting to kind of understand what are the possible objections that they are going to come up with. What is it that their feeling is? So kind of do a temperature check with the people who are key to whatever you're going to convey or the brainstorming that you're going to do, and gather that information firsthand so that you are better prepared to manage that meeting. The second thing that you got to do is, when you conduct a meeting, obviously you are the person calling for the meeting, so you got to prepare your talk. How are you going to convey what you have to convey, the words that you're going to use? And it's extremely important to use the words wisely. Seen a lot of people use very rash words simply because they didn't prepare for it. They didn't know how else could I have put this across. And that's a skill that you can learn by observation. So I see a lot of my clients pick things up from the way we go about communicating. I'm not trying to say that I'm an expert at it, but of course, because we've done critical communication for our life, for our bread and butter, we kind of have become better at it over time. So when people see us, they learn by observation. But it's important that if you don't have anybody to observe, you at least write it down and think through, okay, is this the right way of saying it? Should I say it in another way? The third thing that you got to prepare for is the objections, critical feedback or information that you think will come your way. You got to be able to think, how are you going to handle that? What is your response going to be to those questions, those critical objections that are going to come your way? And if you prepare for that, you are in the better position to answer them. So make sure you prepare. Point number 4 is called invite. Now, when I say invite, there are a number of critical things that come in here. First is, who are you going to invite? Make sure you invite only people who have things to say and contribute in the meeting. Do not invite people who are just going to sit there and look at people not knowing what is happening. A lot of time people invite employees to observe what is happening in the meeting. While that can be done, but it's done with people who've just joined in, so they don't know the way the company works. How are they going to observe it? Chances are they may not understand 80% of the discussion because they don't know the nomenclature that is used, the jargons that are used in the context of your, they don't know the customers, they don't know why the problem is happening. They may go out with a very wrong perception that you have no control over. So make sure you invite people who know the processes, who've been in the company, and who are able to contribute to the meeting. The second thing is important that you know, how are you going to invite them? A lot of time people end up calling their employees and saying, okay, we are doing a meeting, come over. Don't do that way. Send a meeting invite. A meeting invite is sent ideally a week before, but if you can't do a week before, do at least a couple of days before, so that people, they can schedule themselves for those meetings and they don't have to drop tasks and then enter the meeting simply because you called them at the nth hour and told them, real time, we're calling for a meeting, let's get in. And the third and the most important thing when it comes to invite is communicating what is it that they need to be ready with. Those could be reports, those could be presentations, those could be answers to what you're going to discuss. So if you're doing a brainstorming meeting, it's important to convey what is the problem that you're going to discuss and what are you expecting them to contribute with. And if they prepare like you prepare, the meeting is going to be very crisp, it's going to be very fruitful. So make sure you tell them what is it that they need to come with. This brings us to the last point, and the last point is control. In a meeting, when the meeting is happening, there needs to be control over time and agenda. So what do? Well, you nominate a chair unless you decide to be a chair yourself. The responsibility of a chair is to make sure that the meeting goes as per agenda. Everybody gets the time to speak and nobody is able to hijack the meeting by speaking more than the allotted time. It will be a nice idea to give everybody like a minute to speak, and then it rolls over to somebody else, and then he may get a minute again if nobody has anything to add after his first minute, after anybody's first minute is done. So things like that is what you require, and that is done by the chair. The second person that you require to do the control is a note taker. A note taker is somebody who's going to write down on behalf of the chair. The chair is going to be actively involved in the meeting, but a note keeper is going to keep writing who said who in cases where you need to write minutes of the meeting, in cases where there are action plans that are going to come out, like for example, example, a brainstorming meeting. Then the note taker is going to write down the action plans on behalf of the chair, which can then be circulated to the rest of the team so that they know what now needs to happen since the meeting is done and the actions are concluded. The third person that you need is an administrator. Now, this is a very important role in any meeting. An administrator is somebody who can manage your IT, who can manage tea and snacks, which is something that I'm absolutely against. I would believe that an effective meeting is a meeting which is standing, which means that you get into the meeting, you don't sit, you stand, finish off your agenda, and walk off. Now, when you have a standing meeting, it is automatically this happens that people say what they have to say and conclude the meeting. It is only when the meeting room becomes too comfortable is when people sit and then have longer sentences, go on and on and on, and the meeting does not even end with any result. Having said that done, you do need an administrator who can manage things that can maybe get broken, like getting a laptop, pen not working, AC not happening, tea not coming, all of projector not working. All of those things can be handled by the administrator, so the discussion can go on and nothing stops the movement of the meeting. The job of all of these three controllers is to start the meeting on time and end the meeting on time. So I hope that with all of these 5 points, you will be able to ace the way you go about conducting the meeting. Let me know in the comment box how your meeting went if you adopted these 5 points. And if you have any questions, also mention it in the comment box and I will be very, very happy to answer. So if you like this video, hit a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this. If you have a suggestion on the video, mention that. I will do a video on that. And until we meet next time, keep doing wonderful, effective, efficient meetings, and all you find people, keep propelling.